This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. Welcome to prime time, bitch.
It's a fucking shit show. What you think you see, what you think you hear, that's what it's about. Mood and atmosphere. No, it's fucking garbage. It's garbage. Mood and atmosphere. Now that I really like. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I want to see.
You are all my children now.
Oh. Hey folks, how you doing? Dave McRae here. Sorry about that. The glove, when I put on the glove, just fucking takes me over, man. So what do I think of Heather Langenkamp wanting to return to A Nightmare on Elm Street? Or that she's interested and she's open to it? Well, what a shock. Not really surprising considering the success of Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween 2018. She's obviously seen that success and she thinks, yeah, okay, look, Heather Langenkamp is 54 years old, about that. Jamie Lee Curtis is 59. I think she'll be 60 in and around Thanksgiving for you guys in the United States. So, you know, they're pretty much the same age. When you get to that age, 5 or 6 years is pretty marginal. So, you know, this doesn't surprise me. Heather Langenkamp has always had a heartbeat in her career. She's fallen off the radar in terms of being in anything major or prominent, but she's always had a heartbeat in her career. She hasn't totally fallen off the radar where people are like, you know, where people are like, whatever happened to Heather? You know, she's done a lot of short films, she's done a lot of straight to video stuff, but she's always been there. Unfortunately, as an actress in Hollywood, when you get to a certain age, and this is by and large, okay, it's not for everybody, but when you get to a certain age, your value and your demand tends to decline. And it's unfortunate, and I'm not necessarily saying that it's right, I'm just saying that this is the way it is, because of the sex appeal and because of the way women are marketed and portrayed, by and large, in the entertainment industry. The older you get, the less in demand you are. With men, it's a bit different, by and large again, okay? Men in Hollywood tend to have longer careers than women, because it's not solely about the way they look in a lot of cases. And not that it is all the time with women, but I think you see what I'm trying to say. So anytime a woman in Hollywood can have a career after 50 or be relevant again after 50 and certainly after 60 is huge. It's absolutely huge. So, you know, there's no doubt Heather and her team sees this and sees the success of Halloween, and it's been quite some time since she's portrayed Nancy, and she's like, you know, we're in that nostalgic era now. Like it or hate it, we're in the era. We're bringing everybody back again, and the TV shows and the movies and all this kind of shit. Fuck. But, you know, that's the era we're in, and it will last a bit longer, and okay. But... yeah, I mean, there's no doubt she sees an opportunity here, not just for A Nightmare on Elm Street, but like I said, to potentially ignite her career a little bit after that. Because hypothetically, if she were to come back, if they made an Elm Street film involving her, and it was really good, and the movie was quite successful, well, not only would there maybe be sequel talk, but other studios and other projects would be looking at her going, oh, you know what? Holy fuck, totally forgot about Heather Langenkamp. Why don't we, like, you know that movie you got coming up with Tom Cruise? Why don't we cast her opposite as the not the love interest, but as that main person of the such and such? She'd be great in that. Never even thought about Heather. Yeah, she just came out of nowhere because of Elm. Those things happen. Okay, and I'm not saying it's going to happen if she were to reprise her role. I'm just saying that the Elm Street movie, the success of a potential Elm Street reboot or remake, could thrust her back into the limelight and be sort of kind of semi in demand again. And that's attractive from a lucrative standpoint as well. So this doesn't surprise me all around. Like, I get it. I totally get it. If Robert Englund doesn't come back, there would be no point in Heather Langenkamp coming back, right? Because the whole point of her coming back, of why it would be exciting for a lot of fans, is yes, because it's exciting to see her in that role again, but it's exciting to see her opposite Robert Englund. That's why it would be really exciting, right? Well, if Robert's not going to come back, and I'm not convinced that he is, despite everybody losing their fucking shit last week or the week before, I think it was the week before because I posted my video last week talking about this, where Robert off the cuff candidly said in some interview that he might have one more left in him. I don't buy that he does, because he's just coming off the high of the Goldbergs, all right? It was kind of fun. It was nostalgic. It wasn't too complicated or a lot of pressure, right? It was probably a one-day shoot, maybe two, okay? But he's on screen for no more than a couple of minutes, so it's not that complicated. He had some fun. There was some nostalgia there, and he's like, it brought back some old memories. But ask him again in 6 to 8 months or a year from now, and he might be like, no, I'm good, right? Let's ask him again, removed from the emotional nostalgia of the Goldbergs, and we'll see what he says. But he did not say, no, I'm ready to fucking go. New line, let's do it. He didn't say that. So I think we need to keep our expectations in check, like I said in that video last week. So I'm not convinced that he would want to do it. And if he doesn't want to do it, there's no point in Heather coming back. There really isn't. I mean, nobody would turn it down, but it would be sort of a little anticlimactic, right? Well, yeah, that's great that you want to come back, and it's kind of cool seeing you as Nancy again. But when we get to the when we get to the Freddy stuff, it's like, oh yeah, it's not Robert. And remember, Freddy is different from Michael. Freddy has a physicality to him, a performance to him, the voice, right? Even though they do lower the pitch in Robert Englund's voice in the previous films, it's still his cadence, his performance. And although now in his 70s, he's actually able to kind of hit that pitch more than he did when he was in his 30s and 40s. But, what's the end game? That's the most important thing here that fans have to ask themselves is, what is the end game? What do we want? Do we want Robert and Nancy to come back for potentially one movie? Because I'm not convinced that Robert's going to want to do any more than that if he does come back. I'm not convinced of it. 100% not convinced of it. And I'm not convinced that Heather will either. And I'm not convinced that any amount of money will want to draw them back. And then you have to ask yourselves, well, what is the end game? Right? Last night on Hallowstream, Hallowstream 3 with myself, Cody Leach, Lee McCoy, and Mike and Jay from We Watched a Movie. Cody Leach said something which was bang on, and I 100% agree with him. Cody, if you're watching, I agree with you 100%, and I said it then, I'll say it now. He said, as much as that would be fun, I'm paraphrasing what he said, but he basically said as much as that would be fun, what's the end game here? Because what if Robert only wants to do one? So you make this reboot with Robert and Heather, but what if Robert only wants to do one, but Nancy's game for another one? So now you switch Freddy's, but Nancy is still there, but with a different Freddy? Or what if, Robert and Heather don't want to come back at all? So now you create this movie where they're gone, but you start a sequel with a new Freddy? Like, it doesn't, like, the best, as much as it's going to piss a lot of people off, the best thing you can do for the franchise is to start fresh. And that's what Cody said, and I agree 100% on that. You do what you were trying to do in 2010, but you make it better. You don't give it off to Platinum Dunes or whoever the hell had it in 2010. You give it to a studio like A24 that is great at making low-budget horror movies, which is what A Nightmare on Elm Street is, and bringing that psychological component to it, right? You play it like Shakespeare, okay? You play it serious, but a studio like A24 may have the right tools at play to play up the psychological dream subconscious component to it while making it frightening and scary about these teenagers that are haunted by this guy in their dreams with a glove and knives and a fedora, but they play it fucking seriously. Okay, that doesn't mean that maybe there's not a few little Freddy-isms in there somewhere, because there were a couple in the original, but you play it fucking serious. Imagine the tone. Now, again, I'm not saying it's identical, but imagine the tone of a Hereditary, right? Like that feeling you get when you're watching it, but it's Elm Street. And what I mean by that, clearly Hereditary is about the cult and possession, all that kind of stuff, but it's played that seriously. Right? You're watching, and it's frightening, and then they take it a step further with some kills, right? But it's done, it's there's some blood, but it's done classy where you're like, whoa, fuck, this is chilling. This is creepy. I'm not saying A24 could pull it off, but I would be much more excited to hear that A24 got Elm Street than I would Blumhouse. Now, I know that some people believe that A24 is a little too highbrow for something like Elm Street or Friday the 13th, and maybe you're right. But I would be very excited. I would be more, because I don't want, as much as I love Blumhouse, I don't want them to monopolize every horror franchise. I just don't. I don't want them to get Elm Street and get Freddy and get Chucky and get Scream I don't want that. Competition is good. Okay, competition is good. And although people are going to be quick to say, yeah, but they're just providing the money. Yes, they are helping to provide the money, okay? They are working with Universal on Halloween. I get it. But let me be honest with you. Regardless of who they hire as a director and a writer, that director and writer, unless it's in their contract, does not get last say. So if Universal says, we don't like that, it's out. And they're like, well, yeah, but it's out. It's out. If Blumhouse says, we're not crazy on this, we want you to kind of steer it in this direction. You know, that's why having a great working relationship with the director and the studio, or with the director and the executive producers, is really vitally important. You got to be on the same page, working, parallel with each other. And you got to really, when you have ideas for what an Elm Street is, you got to help sell it. And Blumhouse, even though they're still, they're working with they're getting bigger now. And I just worry that if they start to monopolize all the horror genres, or all the horror properties, all the big ones that we know and love from the 80s and 90s, I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if it's a good thing. I would be more excited if A24 got their hands on Elm Street, because competition is good, and A24 stylistically releases films that are a bit different, that have more of a psychological component to it, and Elm Street is all about the subconscious and your dreams, and I really think you could take what Wes did beautifully in 1984 and bring it into the 21st century, which is just like, whoa, like, fuck, shit. Elm Street is back, man. Like, I would be more, I'm not saying it'd be successful, but I'd be more excited. Heather and Robert back, I just don't know what the end game is. I don't know, so that's how I feel about it. I'm just sort of elaborating on what I sort of said in my video last week, but bringing Heather into it, I still kind of feel the same way. It's just kind of like, that's exciting, but it kind of is like, yeah. Like, I get excited and I'm like, oh, but then what? Anyways, folks, my name's Dave McRae. Comment below and let me know your thoughts. Are you excited about Heather Langenkamp saying that she kind of wants to come back to the franchise? Do you think it's a good move to bring her and Robert Englund back together? But then what? What's the end game? What if they want to make a sequel and neither of them want to be in it? What if they want to make a sequel and Heather wants to be in it, but Robert doesn't want to be in it? What then? Again, I don't subscribe to the idea that Robert is the only one that can play Freddy. I don't subscribe to that at all. I don't believe that at all. I believe there are many talented actors out there that could do justice to that character. And I also believe Robert knows and believes that as well. But I do understand that for many of you, Robert will always be your Freddy, and that's fine. But I don't share the same view that he's the only one that could ever do it, hands down, for the rest of the entire universe ever of all time. Don't believe that. But some of you do. Comment below and let me know your thoughts of what you think what's their end game here, right? I would love to know. If you want to follow me on Facebook, you can at facebook.com/manythingsdavemcrae. That's where I tend to post in the meantime and in between time when I'm not posting here. As well, if you want to help support the channel each and every month via Patreon, that link is in the description too, and get in on some Patreon goodies. And there's other links down there as well. So yeah, in the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you guys soon.
Cheers.